What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Become a Local Leader. On today's show, we have Lambros B, one of the authors in the new real estate business book, Referral Secrets, a book that features the stories of 23 top producing agents who describe how they build their business through relationships and referrals, and how they become more than just a realtor in their community, something that we like to call a local leader. And Lambros shares how he combines his passions into his real estate business to make it more fun, because it's not just about making money. You want to have fun while you do this career. And he also talks about how he goes above and beyond just getting people to know you, like you, trust you. It's been a common thing in real estate to get people to know you, like you, trust you. And because everyone's doing it, and because it's so competitive, you actually got to do more than that and create a wow, memorable experience. And that's something that he likes to do and think about. And so these are some of the things that we're going to be talking about, because he's in one of the most competitive markets in North America, in the Greater Toronto area. So he really has got to figure out how to stand out, how to differentiate, how to connect with people better than his competition. So I'm excited for you to get to know him and learn some of the secrets from him. So thank you, Lambros, for being on the show and contributing to the book.
My pleasure, Grant. Thank you for having me here.
When I reached out to you and everyone else in the book, it was about, hey, let's write something that helps agents in the industry, in their careers, so that they can be successful, because there really is an abundance of success for all of us. So if you had to sum up your main message to agents out there on how to be successful in this business and have a great career, what would that main message be?
Well, I can sum it down to 3 words: talk to people. That's it. Just get out there, start talking to people face to face or on the phone. I mean, social media has its benefit. Texting's great, but if you want to really build relationships, you have to actually talk to people.
What is your preferred way of starting a conversation? Because I think that's always like the inertia that agents have. They're like, it's a people business. I got to talk to more people. And then it's like, talk to more people. But they're like, well, how? If you were to give some advice on like, hey, here's what I found, especially early on in my career, here's how to start the conversation, here's what to talk about, what would that be?
That's a great question, actually, because one thing I didn't mention in the book is that I grew up as an introvert, shy by nature. Everybody said, oh, Lambros, he's so shy, he's so quiet, kind of thing. So I really had to work on getting out there and talking to people and opening myself up to that. And what I found was that the more I listened and was interested in the other party, then the better the conversation went, and the more interested they became in chatting with me. So it's not all about me. And one of my coaches said this as well: be the most interested person in the room, not the most interesting person in the room. So ask the other person questions, and genuine questions, right? Introduce yourself and just ask them, hey, how you doing? Or whatever they're doing at the time. Depends on the scenario that you're in, the circumstances that you're in, but just ask them questions about themselves, and people love talking about themselves. So that's how you start the conversations.
Do you use the phone a lot? Do you text a lot? Do you go to events a lot? Like, what's the method by which you get to talk to a lot of people?
Early in my career, I was using the phone. I was making a lot of cold calls. Then I started doing some door knocking in person. And I found that to be a lot easier. It's just more natural, face to face. So I prefer in person, whether it's at an event or somebody in the elevator, wherever you're meeting somebody at the grocery store, and just start a conversation there. It's not as hard as you think. A lot of people are intimidated by it, but as long as you find something interesting about that person, ask them about it, and you never know where it might lead.
I was reading a book when you're younger and you're a guy and you want to, find a girl, and you're like, hey, what do I say? Like, what's the pickup line? And people are just like, hi, like just say something.
Yeah.
And they don't overcomplicate it, don't overthink it, so what would be some of your just ways to spark up a conversation? Like, what are the simple ways you do it?
Keep it simple, like introduce yourself. That's it. So depending on the event, I just go up to somebody and say, hi, I'm Lambros. What's your name? And that's it. Depending on their answers, oh, that's an interesting name, or what brings you here? What do you do? That kind of thing.
It was great advice. It really is that simple. It's not some magical script. Exactly. How'd you get into real estate? Why'd you get into real estate?
Well, my mother was in real estate back in the late 80s, early 90s. And that was a tough time. I don't know if you recall, or the viewers recall, interest rates were sky high. Prices were going down year over year. Just whatever's happening now times 10 kind of thing. It was really crazy. And then then I was old enough to appreciate what she was doing because I saw how hard she worked. And sometimes she would take me out with her, not necessarily on appointments, but looking at houses kind of thing. And so I was always interested in real estate from that perspective. And then I veered off into another direction. I went into healthcare. But then after about 15 years in healthcare, I said, you know what, I need to do something else. And real estate was just a natural transition for me. I took the courses. At that time, there was 3 courses to take. I took them all and completed them all within 4 months. I just got my license right away and hit the ground running.
Is there any lessons that you picked up on from your mom being in the industry in the 80s that you're now thinking about now? Because, all right, we're in a world now where interest rates are climbing, prices are starting to soften, maybe not go up so fast, maybe start to decline a little bit. Any lessons learned that you're like thinking about that, hey, as I if I think about my business over the next 3 to 5 years, these are the things that I'm thinking about because this happened before?
Yeah, just again, how hard she worked. She was always, either on the phone or running back the office or, in her car, driving to appointments and things like that. So it was nonstop. So I kind of learned from that and said, this business may appear easy on the outside. And everybody says, oh, I want to get into real estate because it's easy money and I get all this free time. But it's absolutely the opposite of that. So unless you work hard, there's no easy money in real estate.
What are the stuff that surprised you in real estate getting into it that was harder than you thought or easier than you thought?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. I didn't realize how competitive the industry is. And I didn't realize the perception of real estate agents to the general public. Because as I said, growing up, I saw my mom as a real estate agent. Obviously, I love my mom and I respect her. So I always respected the profession from her perspective as well. So, and I saw it as a service industry. I didn't perceive it as a salesperson. And then when I was studying and they said, oh, you're going to be a salesperson. And I said, I don't want to be a salesperson. I don't like sales. Like, well, why am I doing this? I approached it from a service perspective. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to provide a service to my clients. All I want to do is help them sell and buy homes. As I got into the industry, former acquaintances and clients from the healthcare distanced themselves from me or something like that. It wasn't the same after that, after I left healthcare. And I told them, hey, you know what? I'm going into real estate. And they got cold all of a sudden.
What'd you do about that? Because I think that experience is a similar one that a lot of agents experience. They get into real estate and they reach out to people to let them know this is updating my life. This is what I'm doing now. How can I help? Their relationships are weaker. Or they thought that they would become their client. I think you talked about this in your chapter, but
I did.
You didn't.
That's right.
It's so weird. I thought my relationships would. And so how did you either turn them around or get over it so that you still had success?
Well, yeah, I didn't necessarily turn them around. I respected their decision. Some of them ghosted me, which is crazy because I had a really good relationship with them. So when I reached out and they never replied, I reached out through a letter, an actual paper letter that I mailed to them. No reply. I also emailed them or I called them and they wouldn't get back to me. So I was disappointed, but I had to move on.
How do you segue into that real estate conversation?
I try not to talk about real estate right off the bat. I like to build a relationship first. And if they bring up real estate, hey, by all means, I'm jumping in. Because sometimes they'll ask me, oh, you're in real estate. How's the market? I wish I had $1 every time somebody asked me, how's the market, right? I could retire right now, So then I go into it and I tell them, what's going on. I tell them home prices, and everybody has their own opinion. Everybody thinks they're an expert in real estate. So sometimes I end up just listening to what they're saying. I discovered that don't try to change someone's mind right off the bat, and don't try to sell yourself right off the bat. Just build that relationship. They want to do business with you. Eventually, they'll have to get to know you first, right? They have to know you, like you, and trust you is the old adage, right? So build that relationship. And my only goal is to have another conversation with them. You talked about going on a pickup lines early. So my only goal after the first date is get a second date. So that's the only thing is I want to just have a second conversation with this person, maybe get their phone number, maybe get their email. Now I can put them into my database. I can put them into my email list and reach out to them again at some point.
You kind of brush through it, but that's the one thing that I think agents really need to understand is people will ask about real estate.
Absolutely.
It's something that everyone is interested in. Everyone moves. Everyone wants to invest in real estate. Yeah. And just by being in conversation, them knowing that you're a realtor, because they will eventually ask what you do for a living. If they don't, then you probably don't want to do business with them anyways, right? They'll now know what you do. And then you're just talking to them and being interested. Yeah. They will likely ask about the market and what you think and interest rates and And then you just need to that's your chance to now step in, step up, be intelligent, have great things to say, and not debate or argue. I love that point.
No.
Sales 101, and providing service 101 is always agree. Now, I can agree with where you're at, give you new information, and maybe you'll now start thinking differently. That's my goal. But yeah, not to debate or argue, because that take the conversation in good places. Now, one of the things, you got this quote from this Randy Garn in your chapter that I loved. I'm really big about this wow experience concept. I was in events before when I was younger, and it was just one of those things where, and I got into advertising. I was like, wow, look how many ads people need to see to have an impact, right? How many flyers do you guys send someone before they actually have an embedded impression in your brain?
Absolutely.
But one experience, they'll remember you forever. 100%. And so why am I spending all this time and money going through all these ads when I could just figure out how to create this amazing experience that makes people go, wow, and they remember you forever? That seems more efficient. Absolutely. Maybe a little more work up front to create that experience, but I think more efficient long term.
Yeah.
And so you had that quote: if they like you, they will listen to you. If they trust you, they will buy from you. But if you give them a great experience, they will never, ever leave you.
Yeah.
I love that quote. And how do you exemplify that in your business? What are some ways that you create experiences for people who have not been your customer yet? And then when they are your customer, what are some things that you do to amplify the experience?
So one of the things I do, and that's why I love in-person events. I mean, prior to COVID, we were doing a lot of in-person events. I was having bowling parties and renting out a room, having a catered party there, bringing in live music, photos with Santa, Dave and Buster's, all kinds of things that we were doing for the clients. It was called a client appreciation event. So at that point, you get to interact with the people as well. You ask them to bring their families, any kind of thing. And it goes back to my coaching days as well. You give them a great experience there. At the end of the season, regardless of how you did, whether you won or lost, give them a party at the end of the year, parents versus players, treat them all to dinner, that kind of thing. Just going the extra mile and doing things for them will really endear yourself to them, right? So, and how you do one thing is how people think you do everything, right? I don't know who originally said that, but it's true, right? So if they see, wow, Lambros goes all out. He's not here just as a sponsor or as a coach. He really cares about the team. He cares about the players. He cares about us. He cares about everyone he talks to. So he must care about his business, and he cares about his clients. You just want to just give everybody a great experience, because I think it all comes back to you.
One of my previous work experience was in sampling. So before I became a service professional, I was sampling food and drink for big consumer product companies. And just the increase in sales that samples would do. It was the number one form of marketing for mainly food and drink. It was sample. As soon as I got into the service industry, I was like, I should just sample my service. And that's really what you're doing, is when you are putting on these events, when you are talking to people, everything is because really what they're buying when they hire a realtor is you. And so everything is a sample. Everything you do with that person is a sample. And so that impression they get from the sample now will make them extremely more likely to buy hire and refer you business. One of their phrases I love is everything is marketing and marketing is everything. Everything that you do is marketing. All the words and texts and the way you show up, your energy, just everything with people, especially as a realtor, it is part of your marketing of yourself. You may only get to have that one experience. And if they really liked it.
Absolutely. And to give you another example as well, I send out a monthly newsletter. And in that newsletter, it's not just text. I actually shoot a video. It's not just a boring video of me talking there. I try to jazz it up a little bit. I make it a little bit funny, or I show some graphs and GIFs and things like that, right? And I throw that all in there. Again, just to give them a better, more enjoyable experience. They're watching the video and they're getting updated on the market at the same time.
What are some of these learnings that you had? I'm sure you made some mistakes along the way. What are some mistakes that you made along the way that you learned from as you grew your business that, maybe you can share so maybe people don't do the same thing?
Not following up with people, taking things for granted. I just assumed that people would work with me, but that's not that easy. Or if you meet somebody and you have a great conversation and then you don't follow up with them, they might not even remember you a month later or 2 months later or whatever it is. Even people that I've worked with in the past client, all of a sudden I see, let's say I help them buy a house, and then 3 years later, their house is for sale with someone else. It's hard not to take it personally, but it's what could I have done to make sure that this doesn't happen again? Like maybe I didn't stay in touch with them enough. Maybe I didn't ask them how they're doing enough, or didn't check in with them. All these things. So, and that's happened more than once. So you'd think I would learn by now, but that's definitely a mistake that a lot of agents make, is not following up with people and staying in touch with them.
I just had a conversation with one of the managers at Parkbench, to help them learn and grow as a person. And it dawned on me as like, this is something that just everyone needs to do way more of, which you just alluded to, which is step one, assume everything is your fault and take responsibility for everything. Because if you then blame or complain that friend of yours didn't use you, didn't hire you, didn't refer you, what situation and state are you in now? You're likely not feeling very good. And that's not good to have negative thoughts, feelings, and emotions just in life, let alone for business. And then if you're sitting there being like, I can't believe this person didn't, well, you got nothing to do now. But if you're like, oh my goodness, it's my fault they didn't hire me. It's my fault they didn't refer me. What could I have done differently? What can I do? It just puts you in a way better state that's more empowering and positive, so that you can then make changes to your business. Because maybe you did make a mistake. Maybe you did try to take a shortcut. Maybe you did take something for granted. I love that. I think that's what people do. Is there any other things that you've seen? Because now you've been in the industry for a while. You've seen agents make mistakes. Maybe you didn't make this mistake, but you see agents making this mistake. You see agents taking a shortcut and you advise not to. Is there anything that you've seen other people do that you would want to bring up?
Maybe not being honest with their client in a market like we're in right now, where house prices are coming down month over month, and just telling them, hey, I can get you that price, because clients are still stuck at the prices that we had back in February and March. So, and if you give them, or you agree with their expectations of that price, it's not going to help anybody. It's certainly not going to help you, because the house is not going to sell. You're not going to get paid. And it's certainly not going to help the clients, because the longer they wait, the prices just keep coming down. Better to be upfront and honest with them and say, hey, I know you were expecting X, but your house is worth Y. And I can show you a number of comparables to that effect. And they might get mad. They might not want to work with you, but that's better than wasting your time and wasting their time, and the house doesn't sell anyway.
Another thing I saw in your chapter, success is a function of habits, rituals, routines. It's what you do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. It leads, the process, the systems lead to success. The things that you invest your time and money in lead to success later. How do you spend your time? You do a lot of social media content, you do live shows, you do seminars, you're investing your time and maybe money to grow your business. What are the things that you invest your time and money into that you found help you grow your business?
Since COVID, I was definitely shifted to more online. Really trying to have a presence on social media and online. I've kind of invested in myself, learning how to put out social media content, and learning how to edit my videos so that I can capture attention. Nothing crazy. It's not that I want to become a video editor, but just some simple things that I can do that'll catch people's attention and give myself a little more present online, educating myself. So that way, in turn, I can educate my client.
What have been some of the sources? Like if you name some specific sources of great learning, great skill development, great information, what are some of your go-to sources?
Oh, like Real Estate Magazine, or Randy Garn is one person I follow online. Just a lot of other influencers online. And I belong to an entrepreneur group. We do a lot of mastermind things. I go to masterminds as well. And that helps self-improvement, not just real estate focused, but business focused, right? So, and I learn a lot of things from them. There's always online courses that I'm taking with respect to social media or what have you.
Another thing that you said in your chapter you spend a lot of time on is involvement with schools, with local businesses, with charities and stuff like that. So first, sometimes agents can be like, well, I need to talk to homeowners. And they don't even think, why should I be engaging with schools, local businesses, nonprofits, charities, stuff like that? Why do you spend time over there? And how has it helped you with your business?
I'm a big believer in giving back, and I do love soccer. I've always been one to give to charity, whether it's money or time or something. Prior to COVID, I got together with one of my friends and colleagues in the office, and we both love soccer. He lost his dad to ALS. I don't know if you've heard of that disease. So we thought, why don't we put together a soccer tournament and we can raise funds and awareness for the ALS. This was prior to the Ice Bucket Challenge. I don't know if you remember a few few years
Yeah,
back, which
yeah.
was the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. So we had started this way before that. So nobody knew what this disease was. So we thought, what we could do any charity, but let's pick this one because it's relatively unknown. There was a personal loss as well. There was a connection there. It's an opportunity for you to put a sign up or something, say, hey, sponsored by Lambros Demos. And again, it's the way people perceive you and say, hey, this guy's giving something back to the community and doing some good.
Does this involvement with the soccer and the schools and the charities, does it actually help you get more clients?
I'll rephrase the question for you. Have I gotten clients from doing this? The answer is yes.
Because here's the thing another thing I've been reflecting on for people is like, if you think all of a sudden you're just going to be happy and fulfilled when you just make all this money from real estate, you're in for a very rude awakening that you'll be like still left being like, what? Like the amount of people that we work with who are like, I'm sick and tired of chasing paychecks and commissions. And then, because then you see all these people who are actually really successful and they're doing all these other things. They're involved in all these other things.
That's right.
And it's like, well, how? Because they need to make money. And it's like, well, first, they've come to the realization that making money is not really going to actually make them happy and fulfilled in life. So they then go do these things that make them happy and fulfilled. And lo and behold, it actually does help the business as well. And so it's a double benefit, because if you just go after the money, you're going to end up.
And it's not just, I just want to clarify, it's not just about the money. Yes, I have gotten clients from doing it, but it's not my main source.
It's not the main thing.
Not the main thing, no.
Because in life, that isn't the main thing. Right. You got to realize like you need to do things that are fulfilling, where you're contributing, where you're serving. Yes, it will help you make money, but the cool thing is you're going to feel good.
Exactly.
And so I just encourage agents listening to have faith. All these stories, you and all these other stories in the book show if you go out there to serve, you go out there to contribute, you go out there to do good, and that will make you feel good, which is ultimately what life is about, feeling good.
Absolutely.
It will check the box to 100%. Help you with the business. So you can then continue to focus on the doing the good, the serving, and the feeling of the good.
Right. It motivates you. I mean, a lot of people get up out of bed and say, oh, I don't want to make calls today. I don't want to door knock. But if it's like, oh, I get to go to soccer today, I get to play or whatever, coach, that motivates you to get out there.
And this is why we've been really trying to push agents towards doing less advertising. Because you think about what advertising is. It's like, okay, well, how can I spend my money and where can I show up to make some money? That's a really shallow way of approaching life and business, which then makes people kind of feel less emotion and charge and feel bored and feel dull and feel unmotivated, because it's like the way you're thinking about it is like just about money. Where if you wake up thinking, yeah, who can I talk to today? Who can I serve? Who can I build a relationship with today? Who can I follow up with today? What activities can I do? What events can I create? What experiences can I create? I mean, that's more exciting, and it leads to the business too.
Who can I help today? That's my goal. It's not how can I make money today? It's who can I help today?
Why do you think agents should pick up this book?
Because of the variety. Everybody has put out some great nuggets of information. I mean, I can't wait to read it myself, just to see what everyone else is saying in there. And you can pick up a lot from that.
Agents, I think, need to develop relationships with other agents, potentially join other people's teams, potentially get mentorship, accountability, just referral generating relationships are big in this industry. People to bounce ideas off of and just connect with, because you're in the trenches together. So if people resonate with you and the way you do business and your story, how can they get in contact with you?
Oh, I think the best way is go to my website, demosrealestate.ca. And from there, I have all my social media links. So whether you're, on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, all my links are there. I have a YouTube channel. So please follow my YouTube channel as well. I'm trying to grow my my audience there. That's where I put out most of my videos. Or, back to basics, just give me a call. I'll always pick up the phone unless I'm with another client. Yeah, that's the best way.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing your advice in this book. I wish you all the success. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you very much, Grant. This was fun.